Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and today we're going to be taking a look at Dragonbane, as well as a couple of the expansions, and the Electric State role-playing game, all courtesy of Free League. Now, the team over there, they did send these to us for the purpose of this review, and we actually have extra copies, which will be given away. So check back at the end of the video to see how we'll be giving those away. So first, Dragonbane. So this is a fantasy-based RPG, and it's got very, Middle Ages type art style. Reminds me very much of like some of the old, tomes and pages and stuff that you'd see of lore and stuff like that from the Middle Ages, minus all of the murdering bunnies, which are so prevalent in so many of them for some reason. You got a whole heroic table, gear system. It is a full role-playing game contained in this one book. And then we also have the Mirth and Mayhem box set as well, which does contain all of the rules in here, but misses out on the nice hardcover and some of the lore. But the overall game system works very well. It's very similar to a lot of the other Free League games as far as the general mechanics of it. This does go a little bit more in depth with some of those as far as like some of the abilities and tables, spells and things like that, and really just diving into the overall world of Dragonbane. The game itself is actually a lot of fun to play. I like that it's meant more to be like a kind of like D&D, but without all of the so as I was saying, the game is very, as far as the world, it reminds me a lot of D&D as far as just the sheer amount of options and creatures and races and things like that. But with, in my opinion, a much more trimmed down mechanic system. The Free League team always put in just a ton of detail as far as the characters and the enemies and monsters and things like that, making it very easy to roleplay with. And I love the old style art that they use for this game itself. Did a great job with all of it, and the tables themselves are very well fleshed out. Now we have Path of Glory and the Bestiary. Now these are the two that we're going to actually have an extra copy of that will be given away. So Path to Glory, basically this is a like the first major adventure campaign that's been released alongside the original book. And it does a great job of laying out the actual overall campaign, making it very easy to get into for new dungeon masters. I mean, here we have a very well-defined map with the grid system laid out very easily for you. And, so basically you just, photocopy this or, hand draw or trace a copy of it onto some graph paper, so that way you're not having to leave it open to this page. And especially when you're using a thin sheet of that paper, and with the dark outlines and stuff, it makes it real easy to transfer over. And again, just a ton of detail. The time keeping is definitely very different than most other games that I'm used to, where normally you kind of just have more like a dial where every certain number of actions, it basically moves up the dial. And so this is laid out very different from that. But the whole thing, start to finish, is a ton of material for the campaign, just laying out everything, and easily giving you probably weeks on end of campaigns to play, and even comes with this handy fold out map of the realm. And then we have the bestiary, which this is just more of an expansion of all of the different creatures that you can interact with. Fight and so on. And maintaining all of the same style of art and just keeping up with it. I mean, I love this art style. Like I said, really like the look of that horse and kind of the way it's glaring at you. Giant amoeba. I mean, all kinds of creatures, and literally almost every single page lays out a different type of creature for you, between different types of dragons, demons, and all of that, going into depth on each of those creatures. So that way, if you're building your own campaign, you can definitely pull a lot of detail from here to help you on and your players out. Now the Mirth and Mayhem box, this is basically everything that you need to start the game. So it actually comes with a trimmed down rule book, doesn't have all the fluff, adventure cards, treasure cards, all of the dice you need. These are standees for basically cutouts of some of the creatures. And now there are some adventures that are not contained in any of the other books, but this is the only way to get. And then here are the different creatures and stuff. That way, if your group wants to use miniatures, you don't have to paint so many to get started, and even has pre-built character sheets for you as well. And then maps as well. So honestly, even though this also contains the rulebook, for anyone that's really getting into the game, I think that this is a must-have, just because of all of the extras that you get with it. And the nice thing with the rulebook is, if you're going to be DMing, you could easily give that rulebook to one of your other players, or have maybe, if they want to go in on part of the cost, they get the rulebook, but you get everything else as the DM. A lot of different options there. So even though there is the extra rulebook, it wouldn't be a total waste. Now onto the electric state. Now, right off the bat, as soon as I saw this was available, loved the art style. It's actually going to be I believe it's upcoming, I don't believe it's out yet, movie on Netflix. And based on the art from Simon Stalanog. And this game is actually based on that as well. And for the art alone, this game is worth picking up. Even if you don't ever play it, just to be able to peruse the art and kind of read the lore and stuff, this book is absolutely worth it. Now, the game itself is really unlike any other role-playing game I've played, where the emphasis really is on the journey itself. So, like, as you play, you have a preset storyline that you're following, and essentially once you reach that destination, complete that objective, the story's over. And so it's kind of, it works more as like a palate cleanser between game types, or between big campaigns, something that's just you guys want to play, but not looking for super in depth, and just more about the experience. Narrative casting, which is right here, is essentially hacking in this universe, very similar to somebody in like Cyberpunk going into the net and jacking in and that whole process. And the more time they spend in there doing it, the more likely that they are to basically get trapped in there forever. And it's actually, the game itself is based essentially in an alternate history where this takes place during the 90s, but where there's a whole bunch of science fiction type tech going on. Absolutely love it. Again, even if it was just for the art, absolutely worth the cost. And the game itself works very well. But again, it works best more for smaller games and not, the long campaigns where you'd be playing, weeks to get to the end of the story. And this also does feature a nice map as well, very well detailed. And like I said, fantastic game, really enjoyed it. Now, the part that all of you are waiting for is, how do you get a copy of the 2 Dragonbane books or the Electric State role-playing game? Now, for both of these, there will be 2 winners. And so we're actually going to be doing something a little bit different. So this Saturday at Primetime Games in Mesa, formerly Desert Games, formerly Games U, there is something called the Mercenary Market. We've talked about it before on the channel. And basically, anyone that goes and finds my table there, these will actually be sitting out with basically something saying, free. And all you have to do to win it is come in person and show me that you've liked the video and that you've followed the channel. If you've done both of those, you get to pick between the 2 Dragonbane books or Electric State. So again, to be clear, you get both Dragonbane books or the Electric State book. So definitely worth getting into for either one. Me personally, can't go wrong with Electric State. By far the superior game system in my opinion. But that's how you get your own copy, and see you guys all there.